Hello, and welcome back to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we will be reading Numbers chapter 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, in the tabernacles of the congregation, on the first day of the second month in the second year, after they were out of the land of Egypt, saying, Take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel, after their families, by the house of their fathers, with the number of their names, every male by their polls, from 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Israel. Thou and Aaron shall number them by their armies. And with you there shall be a man of every tribe, every one head of the house of his fathers. And these are the names of the men that shall stand with you. Of the tribe of Reuben, Elizur the son of Shadur; of Simeon, Shelumiel the son of Zurishaddai; of Judah, Nashon the son of Amminadab; of Issachar, Nathaniel the son of Zuar; of Zebulun, Eliab the son of Helion; of the children of Joseph; of Ephraim, Elishama the son of Ammiud; of Manasseh, Gamaliel the son of Pedahzur; of Benjamin, Abidan the son of Gideoni; of Dan, Ahiezer the son of Ammishaddai; of Asher, Pagiel the son of Akron; of Gad, Elasaph the son of Deuel; of Naphtali, Ahira the son of Enan. These were the renowned of the congregation, princes of the tribes of their fathers, heads of thousands in Israel. And Moses and Aaron took these men which are expressed by their names, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the numbers of the names, from 20 years old and upward, by their polls. As the Lord commanded Moses, so he numbered them in the wilderness of Sinai. And the children of Reuben, Israel's eldest son, by their generations, after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, by their polls, every male from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war. Those that were numbered of them, even the tribe of Reuben, were 46,500. Of the children of Simeon, by their generations, after their families, by the house of their fathers, those that were numbered of them, according to the number of the names, by their polls, every male from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go to war. Those that were numbered of them, even in the tribe of Simeon, were 59,300. Of the children of Gad, by their generations, after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war. Those that were numbered of them, even of the tribe of Gad, were 45,650. Of the children of Judah, by their generations, after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war. Those that were numbered of them, even of the tribe of Judah, were 314,600. Of the children of Issachar, by their generations, after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war. Those that were numbered of them, even of the tribe of Issachar, were 54,400. Of the children of Zebulun, by their generations, after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war. Those that were numbered of them, even in the tribe of Zebulun, were 57,400. Of the children of Joseph, namely, of the children of Ephraim, of their generations, after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war. Those that were numbered of them, even of the tribe of Ephraim, were 40,500. Of the children of Manasseh, by their generations, after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of their names, from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war, those that were numbered of them, even of the tribe of Manasseh, were 32,200. Of the children of Benjamin, by their generations, after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war, those that were numbered of them, even of the tribe of Benjamin, were 35,400. Of the children of Dan, by their generations, after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war, those that were numbered of them, even of the tribe of Dan, were 700. Of the children of Asher, by their generations, after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war, those that were numbered of them, even of the tribe of Asher were 40 and 1,500, of the children of Naphtali, throughout their generations, after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the numbers of the names, from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war, those that were numbered of them, even of the tribe of Naphtali, were 50 and 3,400. Those that were numbered, which Moses and Aaron numbered, and the princes of Israel, being 12 men, each one was for the house of his fathers. So were all those that were numbered of the children of Israel by the house of their fathers, from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war in Israel. Even all that they were numbered were 600,000 and 3,550. But the Levites, after the tribe of their fathers, were not numbered among them. For the Lord had spoken unto Moses, saying, Only thou shalt not number the tribe of Levi, neither take the sum of them among the children of Israel. But thou shalt appoint the Levites over the tabernacle of testimony, and over all the vessels thereof, and over all things that belong to it. They shall bear the tabernacle, and all the vessels thereof, and they shall minister unto it, and shall encamp round about the tabernacle. And when the tabernacle setteth forward, the Levites shall take it down, and when the tabernacle is to be pitched, the Levites shall set it up, and the stranger that cometh nigh shall be put to death. And the children of Israel shall pitch their tents, every man by his own camp, and every man by his own standard throughout their hosts. But the Levites shall pitch round about the tabernacle of testimony, that there be no wrath upon the congregation of the children of Israel. And the Levites shall keep the charge of the tabernacle of testimony. And the children of Israel did according to all that the Lord commanded Moses. So did they. Summarizing Numbers chapter 1. So the Israelites are getting ready to go into the land of Canaan. So preparing troops are mandatory. This is what this chapter is about. But I want to focus on a couple of other things before we get right into Numbers, because it's going to be pretty quick. So I have this highlighted because I just want to point out that Moses has spent 91 pages writing about events that have happened 2 years after coming out of the land of Egypt. So from Exodus chapter 12 up until now, 91 pages, that has only covered 2 years of life. Methuselah was 969 years old. He was only mentioned 3 times in the Bible, in Genesis chapter 5, verse 27. Then we look at Enoch walked with God and was no more because God took him, and he lived 365 years. Sorry. He lived 365 years. I have it written down, but I want to show what I'm reading. So the reason why I'm pointing this out is because these people lived like a lot longer, and they're only mentioned 2 and 3 times. And Enoch was someone who, that's not pretty interesting. He didn't even die. He just got taken. Like, I want to know more about that. Then I want to point out Keturah, right? Keturah is Abraham's second wife. And the reason why this is important is because Abraham and Sarah, the biggest thing about them was, we want an heir, we want a child, we want a child. It was such a big deal. And then when Abraham marries a woman who can give him children and gives him 6, she's only mentioned 2 or 3 times and then no more in the whole Bible. A lot of people don't even know Keturah, that Abraham had a second wife. I didn't know that until I started reading. Also, Abraham died at 175 years old. And what makes this so or the reason why I'm just pointing this out, or another reason why, Moses dies in Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 7 at age 120. Okay, so he's 120 years old. And the thing about Moses is, Moses has written the first 5 books of Exodus. Just 91 pages has just been about Moses and the Israelites after leaving Egypt. So I'm just putting that into perspective. These other people who lived, these other people who did other things, who lived longer than him, don't even get as much shine in the Bible as Moses does. So I'm just pointing that out. Another thing that I don't understand why there is not more clarity on, because right now we're in Numbers chapter 1, and the Israelites are going into the land of Canaan to take over it. And we just read before that the land was sick. They were doing, depraved activities on the land, which made the land sick itself. So now God is going to move the Canaanites out the way so that the Israelites can take over it. But this is where it begins, Genesis chapter 9, verse 24, right? This is a story about Noah who he got drunk, he fell asleep. One of his sons, Ham, saw him and laughed and told his brothers about it and laughed about it instead of helping him. And his 2 brothers covered him. And when Noah woke, this is the phrase, he knew what his youngest son had done to him. That's all the information we don't really understand anymore. And when we look further, Noah begins to curse Canaan. So with the information that we have, Caanan hasn't done anything. Ham is the one that did something, and he only laughed. Also, if you're drunk, you're naked, and you're asleep, how do you know that someone just laughed at you? Like you wouldn't know that if you were asleep regularly. In the video of Genesis chapter 9 that I did, I mentioned a theory that was presented on some online lore about the Bible. And the theory is that Caanan did something sexual to Noah, which is why when we look through the Bible later on, everything associated with Caanan is like this problem with sexuality in some way, which actually makes a lot of sense. But this is not explicit of what happened and why Caanan was cursed in that scenario. When I thought about trying to look at who was the youngest son, because his only 3 sons are Shem, Ham, and Japheth. It's mentioned here in Genesis chapter 6, verse 10. And sometimes the order of how people are named could help give a clue on who's the oldest, right? And when we look here at Genesis chapter 10, verse 1, so Shem, Ham, and Japheth are named again. But then Genesis chapter 10 is an epic catalog. And even though it starts out naming Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Genesis chapter 10, verse 2 starts out naming the lineage of Japheth first. So this doesn't help to offer any insight on who's the oldest son or who's the youngest son. When we look here at Genesis chapter 4, verse 2, when Eve had her children, she birthed Cain first, and then she birthed Abel. And this is explicit because, it says she became pregnant, she gave birth, and again she bare his brother Abel. So now we know for sure Cain was born first. We don't have that same specificity when it comes to Noah's sons, right? So that's the reason why I just wonder if that's true. I don't think it's been made clear why Canaan was cursed in that scenario, but it would be very plausible if Canaan had some sort of sexual problem and did something sexual to Noah while he was asleep. That would also make sense how he knew what was done to him when he woke up. That would make a lot of sense. And if he just started blaming Canaan out of everyone who was there, it might have been like Canaan already had some of that behavior, some proclivities to like strange things or to violate people's boundaries, which is what I think happened and what I think was the biggest problem here. And I'm going to explain why. I think Caanan had a problem with managing his boundaries, and that is evidenced in his lineage. So then we get to Genesis 10, verse 19. So Genesis chapter 10, as I said, is an epic catalog, and an epic catalog documents the lineage of people and the territories that they occupied. Canaan is the only descendant that Sodom and Gomorrah is mentioned in. And we all know the story about Sodom and Gomorrah, but I'm going to go over it again. So, Genesis chapter 19, right? Before I get started, or before I expound on that, homosexuality is not mentioned as the reason for destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And I know that may be controversial to hear, but that's why I'm bringing up this verse. Genesis chapter 19, verse 13. This is when the two angels came to the land, or came to Lot, and was talking a lot about why they were there. And they say, we are about to destroy this place because the outcry against this people has become great before the Lord. The Lord sent us to destroy it. This is a complete sentence and a complete explanation of why it's getting destroyed. So, yes, this is a homosexual incident, or the homosexual incident, or a homosexual request of an incident, but homosexuality was not the reason why this land was destroyed. Because this is the reason why, right here in this uh, sentence. And we also know it was not outlawed, or God did not mention that there's a problem with homosexuality until Leviticus chapter 18, verse 22. Now, from Genesis chapter 19, there's 50 chapters in the book of Genesis, there's 40 chapters in the book of Exodus, and there's 27 chapters in the book of Leviticus. And it wasn't until Leviticus chapter 18 that homosexuality was mentioned. The story of Lot, it is two angels came to Sodom and Gomorrah, came to Lot's home. They manifested themselves as men, and the men who lived in the city of Sodom and Gomorrah wanted to demand that these two men come out to have sex with them, with the whole group of people. Lot told them, no, you can have my virgin daughters. They say no. How dare you try to judge us? Which is a wildly insane response to someone who is just a man of God. Who are you to judge us? You used to be a stranger too. That's actually what is being said. You should go back and read Genesis chapter 19. It's very interesting. But the problem was that they did not respect the consent. They did not respect boundaries that were set, just like the theory of Caanan and Noah. He didn't respect boundaries. He didn't respect the laws around consent. And the angels had to blind this crowd of men because they were trying to break down Lot's door to get to these two men. That's how badly they wanted to get these men. And so the two women that would have been given to them, they said, no, we don't want them. And they had to be, the angels had to blind them, smite them with blindness so that they would stop trying to break the door down. They specifically wanted access to what was not accessible. So personally, that's what I think the reason for it was that there was a problem with respecting people's boundaries. And the majority of people, if they had a certain mindset, they would not respect the mindset of the minority. So the reason why an explanation of Noah cursing Canaan would have been helpful was because sexual sins keep plaguing Canaan's territory, even until this current point in the Bible. So when we look at Leviticus, oh yeah, so that's another point I wanted to make about homosexuality and uh, how when God said something, the proximity of God doing things when he saw that something wasn't good, right? So the nature of God, he spoke in Genesis 1, he spoke and created, he spoke and created. And then when it got to man, he said, no, this is not good. And even after all of his creations, he said he saw that it was good and then he moved on to the next creation. But when he made man, he looked at him and said, this isn't good. It's the only creation he said that to. He said, this isn't good. You need a woman. So in the next few verses, God starts making a solution for the problem of Adam being alone. When we look at homosexuality, uh, if you want to argue that that's the reason why Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed in Genesis chapter 19, but it isn't even mentioned again at all until Leviticus chapter 18, verse 22. And Leviticus chapter 18 is a list of sexual sins, not just homosexuality, but I just want to make that clear that is not what the Bible says at this point was the reason for their destruction. And to me, what I think it was a lack of boundaries. And, I do think it's interesting that homosexuality was mentioned as in this scenario with a lack of boundaries twice with Caanan and Noah. And then here in this book, the lack of boundaries, the lack of respecting someone else's lifestyle. So, you know, I don't want to have too much detail on that because again, I'm not God. I'm just a person reading. Leviticus chapter 25, verse 38. God is telling the Israelites that he's going to give them the land of Canaan. Then when we look at Leviticus chapter 18, verse 28 to 29, he's saying that he's having to, that the land is spewing people out, vomiting people out because of what is being done, the abominable customs that were practiced on this land. And chapter 18 is a list of sexual sins that were being committed on that land. And this is the land of Canaan. So that's why I just don't get why that wasn't explained way back in Genesis. So then we understand there's a problem with sexual sin with these lineage of people. And throughout the Bible, I just want to just show that there's another Genesis chapter 24. Abraham told his servant that he wanted him to get a wife for his son Isaac, but he just told him, no, don't get Isaac a Canaanite wife. Go back to my hometown and find a wife. We look at Genesis chapter 28, verse 6. Esau had married 2 Canaanite women, and his parents disapproved. I think Rachel even said, I should have gone back around, but I think Rachel even said, like, what good would my life be if Jacob also went and married a Canaanite woman? And she told Jacob not to marry a Canaanite woman. And Esau heard that, and he went and tried to marry a different woman as well, on top of the other 2 women he already married. But there's just this theme that keeps, don't marry a Canaanite woman. It keeps being this problem with the Canaanites. And that started way back in Genesis chapter 9. And so now we're here in Numbers chapter 1. The Israelites are getting ready to overtake the land of Canaan because of the list of sexual sins and the idol worship, but the list of sexual sins in Leviticus chapter 18, which is making the land sick and defiling the land. Okay, great. Now we're all, I think we're already caught up, but okay. So God says, take a census of all the males by their clans and family. A male from each family, aged 20 and up, shall assist you in war. Verse 4 through verse 15, name all of the warriors, the 12 men that will lead their clans alongside Moses and Aaron. Okay. So God calls the 12 men princes or leaders of thousands. Verse 18, the first day of the second month, everyone registered themselves by their families. Verse 21, Reuben's tribe was 46,500. Verse 22, Simeon's tribe was 59,300. Verse 24, Gad's tribe was 45,650. Verse 27, Judah's tribe was 74,600. Verse 29, Issachar's tribe is 54,400. Zebulun's tribe is 57,400. Joseph, both of his sons, both uh, representatives from his two sons were present or represented here. So we have Ephraim, and his tribe was the men in his tribe, 40,500. And then we have the other son, the descendant of Manasseh, 32,200. The tribe of Benjamin, 35,400. Dan, 62,700. Asher, 41,500. Naphtali, 53,400. And everyone listed was 603,550 people. These are all men over the age of 20 that are able to go to war. Delayed click. Okay. The Levites are not listed. And the reason why, God has a special calling for them, a special task for the Levites. So God commands Moses to, number one, not take their census, not count them, but also have them take care of the tabernacle. And the tabernacle is this portable worship arena type of deal. And verse 51, anyone who gets near it should be put to death, any regular person. And then verse 52, each Israelite should camp with their own family. Verse 53, the Levites should camp around the tabernacle. So the book of Numbers, or this first book of Numbers, is just telling us that these are the troops, this is the way that they're organized, and that they are about to go into the land of Canaan. But of course, you can't overtake a new territory without any force. So that's what they're doing here, is getting their stuff together. So I appreciate you watching the video up until this far. I do recommend highly to go back and read. Use BibleRef.com because you can access 6 different versions of the Bible at once, and you can go through each one. This is actually what I do to get the best meaning out of things. And you should go back and read Genesis chapter 19. You will see it from an adult perspective. You'll see that Lot actually lingered. And even if just when the angels told him it was time to leave, they lingered. They didn't even rush to leave. Lot had 2 men that were engaged to their daughters to be married. And they didn't believe Lot when he said, we need to leave. And then, the wife turned into a pillar of salt because she didn't obey the angels when they said, don't even look back. And then the daughters, once they escape, the daughters get Lot drunk and take turns having sex with him. And they both get pregnant with his grandson's sons. So this whole sexual behavior and not respecting boundaries and not having any standards, that's like a classic trait of the Canaanites. So you really should go back and read that story as an adult, because you will look at him different. When I was a kid and I read about Lot, I just thought Lot was a good guy, and these, those demonic people just surrounded the home. But if they were so demonic, why were you lingering to leave? Why did the angels have to yank you and make you come on to leave? Well, enough rambling about that. Again, thank you for watching. Have a good day.